Hey, good evening, everyone. We are the Gratitude Girls.
Good evening. Rara is in the house. I'll tell you what that's all about later. Yeah, Laurie, so good to see you.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're looking beautiful as usual. I think we should have a fashion aspect to the show. You know, I really look forward, and they say women dress for women, right? So I really look forward to see what you're wearing. And you can't tell that I'm trying to do my yogi thing tonight because you just can't see, but I wanted to be very so I brought as we were talking, I brought my own to the studio, and you brought obviously glamour and strength and bravery and your brilliance, as we talked about. So thank you so much for being here with me. For our audience that's watching us for the first time, Laurie and I have a thing, and it's just been getting better between us. So I just want to let everybody know that our thing is getting better. And so if you want to watch relationships grow, just watch what Laurie and I do. And let's talk a little bit, Laurie, about where we're from, because some of our audience tunes in and they're like, you know, where are we? Are we together? So this is an international show. So where are you calling from tonight? Where are you tuning in from?
I am currently in Nashville, Tennessee.
Awesome. I am in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So we are giving you a live international show right across the miles, right across the border. That's great. That's great. And I know you and I are thinking of, and you travel, like you really got a lot of more miles on me this year. And I know it's only the 22nd of January, but you're putting the miles on. You just came from, where were you at?
I was in Dallas last week.
Okay. I don't know how I'm going to catch up with you. How was that? Was that fun?
That was amazing. Absolutely wonderful. I've got pages and pages of notes and lots of pictures.
You know, I want to see your notes. If you could share those with me somehow, I'd love to. I follow you all the time. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and was Dallas good? Was it nice?
It was very nice. I actually also talk about meeting people online and having, you know, virtual relationships. So the girl that started one of my nonprofits, Cops Wives, she started that. I was her first member about almost 25 years ago. And then her husband left the police force, so she gave it to me and I took it over. And then fast forward a few years later, she came back. And long story short, we've ran this nonprofit together for over 20 years. And we just met in person last week while I was in Dallas.
Wow, that is awesome. I love when those things happen, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought over 20 years later? Well, you know, you never know when you meet someone, which brings me to the part of the show that I really love. I love to hear it. You never know how you're going to meet someone. Laurie and I did not know how we were going to meet. We didn't know what happened. So if anybody's interested in the Gratitude Girls, Laurie, let's share, other than it being on our website, which is great, but let's share a live story about how did we come into being the Gratitude Girls?
Yeah, so absolutely. So Catherine and I are both in a direct sales company called Send Out Cards. So we teach and show how sending out greeting cards and the tangible touch, you can build relationships, not only in your personal life, but also in your professional and business life. So it is direct sales. And so each year the company has a theme for the year, and then they pick one person to kind of win that theme. And so 2013, the theme was gratitude. And so I was in the audience and our CEO was telling all these wonderful attributes about the person he was fixing to call. And I had my camera ready. I would have my video camera ready, and he calls Catherine up on stage. So she goes up there and I am taking lots of pictures and video. And then for the first time ever in our company, they said that year, and the only year since, there was a tie. And so he ended up announcing all the different things about this second person. And I kept wondering, who could that be? And then they called my name. Wow. And so Catherine and I are actually cross-lined to each other in the company, and we met each other on stage. And so then after we met, we kind of just had this instant kind of attraction, you know how like they say love at first sight for people in marriages or whatever. We had that for friendship and business partners. And so we knew that we were meant to be, that everything that happens in the world, there's a reason for it. And we decided to do something with it. And within like 2 to 3 minutes, Gratitude Girls was born.
You know, Laurie, thank you for sharing that. I remember when, you know, my name was called and my knees were like, I was weak. I thought, how am I going to get up there? It was part of my affirmation, my dream, my I am statement. And then when I heard your name, I thought, I'm going to get to meet Laurie, like right here on stage. And that was really exciting for me because I had heard about you, because you had received recognition for things like sending the most gifts in the entire company. I mean, you had so many wonderful things that were said about you that I read about and I heard. And I thought, wow, I'd really like to meet Laurie. Not knowing that, you know, you get what you wish for. So I wanted to meet you, and there I was standing next to you. And you're absolutely right. This instant attraction that we had for each other, we felt this vibration. You know, you raised your vibration. We felt it. We were right there. What a great way to meet you. I mean, to meet you anywhere would have been great, but what a fantastic way, because we had like these moments of surprise, the element of surprise, and we were so excited. And there were so many things going on in both of our lives at the time, but yet there we were with, you know, the brilliance of Cody Bateman, knowing somehow that would be a magical connection. And we were not chosen by Cody. We were chosen by our entire company. So, you know, what are the odds of that, and how awesome it is still to have that and to make history together. And that's just, it's a great way to start. And, you know, what's coming forward, I guess I won't say too much, but, you know, whatever we have planned will certainly blossom, and the audience that's been following us or that's just tuning in, they'll just keep getting the best of whatever we have to put forward. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for having met you. It was an awesome moment. And so in along that lines of talking about awesome moments, you know, we meet people, we meet so many people. To our audience that's watching, you know, you might have been a previous guest on our show, or you might want to be a guest on our show, but you never know. You meet us somehow, and you meet all kinds of people, and then you get something, like something just clicks. And when it does, you feel that there's something you can do with that person. So I want to take a few minutes to introduce our guest tonight. I met this awesome woman, and I felt a really quick connection. And you know when you do that with somebody, and that's because, you know, some people, they move, but our guest, she moves fast. I felt her vibration. I felt her energy going up and going out, and that really super attracted me. So I'd like to take a few minutes, and I'll have Molly tell her story. I'd like to introduce Molly Sanders to our audience tonight. Molly, thank you so much for being our guest on Gratitude Girls tonight. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Where are you sitting tonight? What part of the world are you in?
So I'm also in Toronto. I'm in downtown Toronto. I think I'm a bit further away from you, Rara, but yes, I'm also in Toronto, but I'm actually from Kansas.
Oh, I love that. Makes me think of, you know what, when you say,
I know.
Kansas, you say Kansas, I think of red slippers and cooking them together. Now talk about marketing, right? Like that's awesome. Yeah, I think we have to go with that. I have to make you a card with red slippers, sparkly red shoes, Molly.
Do it. I'll love it.
Molly, let's talk about how we met, and let's talk about that attraction, and then we'll go into a little bit, we'll definitely go into your life and your business and career. How was that for you?
When we met?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you explained our meeting the way you did, because we met in a business group, BNI, one of the chapters of the BNI, which is a business networking group. And inside our group, like, we have a fabulous group, but you're someone who is very dynamic. And so I think it was the second time that I was there that you and I actually chatted for a few minutes. But I was like, oh yeah, this one. I don't know how or, you know, what this is going to turn into, but this one's the one. So, and I remember, I think you took a selfie with me on the spot, and then I got a card, I think 2 or 3 days later. So it was very cool. And then we went to a book signing with Cody Bateman a few weeks later. And I think we had a short conversation a couple weeks after that, and our collaboration here was born.
Yes, it was. I remember we took the picture with Ashley.
Yep.
Ashley from Earth and City. And so we had that behind us, and we were at Sherwood Mortgage at our BNI group. So we're now called Wealth Builders.
Yep.
Right? I don't know if we were called Hogtown Hustlers at that time. So we're now called Wealth Builders. Yeah, we're in New Yorkdale. And that was a great energetic meeting. I remember that really so well. And right, we came, invited you to come to the launch of Cody's book. And anyway, that was awesome because you came and you brought somebody. And have you read the book yet?
Not all of it, but I definitely have I'm kind of a skimmer. I'm not a great sit down and read the whole thing kind of person, but there is one chapter I think on relationship. It wasn't called relationship building. That's not what he says, but something about how you build relationships that just kind of blew my mind. And I've been taking that into my business. So
awesome. Wow, the power of human relationships. Yes, please reference that chapter if you can to Laurie and I later, so we can definitely blog about that. And you're implementing it. Please do, implementing it into your business. And thank you for that. I really appreciate you sharing. And now let's talk about your business. So tell us, how did you get into the business that you're in?
That's a good question. Because by training, I'm actually, my degree is in English and German. So not even remotely related to nutrition or wellness, but isn't that how it goes for most people when you find your thing? But really, a few years ago, I had just moved to Toronto and I was working from home, and I was doing technical writing, which was the most boring job I think I've ever had. But I started watching all these documentaries on Netflix about food and healing. And the more I kind of learned and started researching and started experimenting in the kitchen, which I'd always done, but more just to eat the food, not to heal anything. But the more I started learning and researching about how intricately connected what we put into our mouth is with our development of disease, like how we can come back from disease, it really became something that was, I'll use the word personal for me, because it just broke my heart to know that this knowledge was there, existing in the universe, and you are watching people around you who are unwell and not feeling good and, have no energy and just not alive and thriving. And to know that there's something that you can do just broke my heart. And so I ended up going back to school for holistic nutrition. And, once I graduated from there, I had all this great information, and I started working with people, and I was giving them these very thorough, well-researched protocols that were 20 pages long, all cited. And I would give them, and I would give them away, and nobody would use them or implement them. And so I was like, okay, there's something missing here. And, I realized that where I really thrive and shine and what I really want to do for people is help to take them from knowing there's something they can do to actually implementing it in a way that's going to work in their life forever. Because I find that that's kind of what's missing, whether you're seeing a nutritionist or a doctor or a naturopath. You can get the information, but actually being able to implement it is often a missed piece of the puzzle. And so that's really where I operate. So I got a business that relaunched in October, and my title of myself and my team were food coaches. We really do coach people on their food. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview.
Okay, that's great. Now, let me ask you this, food coach. Okay, so how is someone going to know if they need or should investigate a found coach?
That's a good question. Pretty much, if you've ever tried anything, whether it's that you found it online, like you wanted to do Whole30, or you've tried to go vegan, or you're doing some type of a cleanse, or even you've got some type of a protocol from someone and lasted about 2 weeks and then tanked, I'm your person. That's pretty much the thing. Okay. Or if it's there's really something big that you want to accomplish, and you just have no idea where to start, that would be me too.
So Molly, you know, we're walking around, we're at networking meetings, we're at dinner parties, we're at friends' houses, and we hear, oh, I'm doing keto, or I'm doing, you know, grain-free or wheat belly, or I'm doing, and we hear this. So when we hear this, is this the bell that should go off that should make us think about you?
Totally.
Okay.
And I think the reason I'll say totally is because I actually talked about this earlier today, that what kind of exists in our culture now that like health and wellness has become so mainstream is people are actually very anxious about food. They're concerned that, am I doing the right thing? Should I have coffee? Should I not? Should I eat meat? Should I not? Should I have dairy? Should I not? Should I be vegetarian? Should I not? And, you know, it really can kind of run a lot of anxiety through people's eating. And so I think definitely I'm the person who should kind of go off in your mind, because where I really do well for people is getting them to a place where everything's on an even playing field. There's not good food, there's not bad food, there's just food you put in your mouth. And once you're there, you can create something that's going to work for you forever from a place that's very empowered, and from a place of, you know, I'll say gratitude, from a place of gratitude for what your body's able to do and the resources you have available.
Right. So we don't have to look at food as the enemy, or we don't have to go into the kitchen with our army gear on, or our battle gear. We don't have to go in and fight off these foods. We can go in and actually wave the white flag and surrender to the fact that these foods are good for us. And then we just have to know how to blend them and mix them, right? You know, you said something earlier. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying totally. I could not have said that better.
Well, you said it, actually. I just rephrased it. You said earlier that it's not just about the food also. So, you know, people talk about food, right? What did you eat? How did you eat? I feel this. I feel tight. I feel big. I feel loose. Whatever people are feeling, right? They're feeling it. Oh, I ate this food and this food made me do that. So talk to me a little bit about the mind-body connection. You know, I eat a food and that's how I feel. Does it start here? Does it start here? Does it start with how we approach the food? Tell us a little bit about all these excuses that people use about how the food makes them feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a loaded question, but one of my favorite questions. So, I mean, in terms of if we're talking about cravings, you know, which is something people talk about a lot, like they crave French fries or ice cream or sweets or alcohol or whatever, that definitely starts in the mind. And you don't even have to have that food in front of you for the process to like kick off, right? A lot of what we do is habitual. The TV goes on and, you know, the brain, like we're creatures of habit, right? Like 99% of what we do is done on autopilot. And so the TV goes on and then your brain's like, oh, when we were 5, remember that time we started eating chips when we watched TV? And then all of a sudden your mouth starts salivating and you're like looking for chips. And this is where people get into situations where they're like raiding their cupboards. There's no chips there because they know that they eat the chips when the TV goes on, so they don't buy them. And you end up eating like, I don't know, like pieces of lettuce with cheese and salt on it, trying to like mimic the combination of the chip flavor and the texture. It's insane, like how kind of run we are by those previous experiences, number one. And then on the other side of that, like the emotional state that you're in while you're eating food has a huge impact as well. So you're sitting there and you're eating your like lettuce with your cheese and your salt on it, and it's like the healthier version. But you're stressed out, you're feeling deprived because what you actually want is chips. And then there's this whole kind of slew of metabolic processes that then get disrupted because you're not in a state of like peace, of gratitude, of being thankful, you're not being mindful. And so, yeah, it totally starts in the brain, it ends in the brain. The in-between is in the brain. It's all in the brain.
So let me ask you this. What about people having addictions to certain foods? Is that in the brain?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly like a physiological element to, you know, people being addicted to sugar or salt. You know, on a physiological level, the sugar could be a result of like a yeast overgrowth or something in the gut. So those bacteria look for sugar. But that's something you can, you know, knock out for the most part in a couple of weeks. And same thing with salt. Like people have really salt cravings. They're like usually overstressed. Their adrenal glands are going on overload. And that's kind of the high level version of it. But again, most of that like food addiction, it's to do with people eating their feelings.
Yeah. That's great. You know, I've been watching, you know, we watch the internet, right? Because we're just social media, whatever we do.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of dropping the sugar, you know, join me on the 28-day, 70-day challenge, 30-day challenge, whatever, drop the sugar. So tell us a little bit about the person who says, I'm dropping the sugar, I'm going to follow me, I'm getting rid of sugar, I'm not going to have it be part of my life anymore. Tell me about that kind of person. And then what can we expect? Is that going to happen forever?
That's a really good question. And the short answer is for most people, no. And the reason why is because there are two levels beyond just cutting out the sugar that if you skip those additional steps, you know, 28 days later, you're going to be right back where you started. So, and for the two of you or for anyone who's watching, you can think back to any time you tried something where, you know, you'll get excited at the beginning. There's like some novelty to like a new type of diet or way of eating. It's exciting. So you go, like you stock your cupboard, you're like buying all these new ingredients. And then about 3 or 4 weeks in, you know, the novelty is gone, the motivation is gone. And so what happens? You drop off, right? And so without these kinds of extra steps of dealing with, number one, what's already there in the background, like what purpose has the food that you've cut out or whatever change that's now sneaking back in, what has that served for you previously, and how are you going to deal with that? And then putting in things like accountability, setting your environment up for success, and really understanding things like how the brain works, that we default to, you know, looking for the things we're not doing well, looking for the things that are wrong. We're not acknowledging ourselves for the things that we've accomplished those last 4 weeks. Without doing that, of course, you'll default back into those defaults. And then all of the work you've done for those first couple of weeks or the 28 days or whatever, they come back in. And that's why you see people every January doing the same diet, dry January, whole 30, dry January, whole 30, like over and over and over again.
Right. That's definitely why we need you and your services. Now, let me ask you, I'm sure there are people in our audience, either live now or watching the replay, will say, you know, tell me a little bit about you, Molly. Tell us a typical day in your life, in the entrepreneurial life of Molly Sanders.
Oh my. Well, it really varies, but for the most part, I do wake up like between 6:30 and 7:30 these days. And recently, I've like since the beginning of the year, I do a lot of setting my day up. And what that looks like for me is I have a question where I have to write 10 things I'm grateful for, 10 things I've accomplished the previous day, 5 things I'm proud of myself for, what's worth focusing on today and why, and who do I really appreciate in my life. And honestly, that is the most important part of my day, because without it, it's just, you know, we wake up with whatever we wake up with, right? You wake up not wanting to do work, not wanting to talk to people, not wanting to get out of bed. And without that like conscious shift first thing in the morning, you're kind of working against that the rest of the day. So that's definitely the first thing that I do. I do a lot of cooking. So I have a good breakfast. I have good coffee every morning, lots of water. But mostly, you know, I'm interacting with people for the majority of the day, whether it's like on social media or I'm working with clients, which is actually very much like this. I'm very comfortable with the video because this is how I do my video sessions. And then, yeah, experimenting in the kitchen, putting together new recipes and putting together new programs. Like I love the kind of creative part of entrepreneurship, right? New projects, new partnerships, new people. I love the novelty of it.
Right. And you can tell, and you can feel it. I'd love to share some recipes one time. Yeah, let's do that. Laurie, I know you want to talk to Molly. So, so I'm going to give you some of the floor time and say, yeah, please go right ahead and ask if you have any questions for Molly, which I'm sure you do, please ask her.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So one thing I was going to tell you, so when you read that book, That Power of Human Connection, there's a chapter in there somewhere in the 200 range. You might want to read that one because you might read about somebody that you know. But okay. Somebody that you met recently. But
is it real?
Anyway, and yeah, I am featured in the book.
That's awesome.
Sneaky way of saying it, right? But anyway, yes, I have a couple questions. So
yeah,
it's funny because I have this last year I had some, you know, female fun that I dealt with and gained like 40 pounds in the last year. And so I'm now in the kick of let's fix this. Let's, you know, we're not doing this. We're not happy with where we're at. And and having a 24-year-old bodybuilder son and a 18-year-old brown belt in karate son. I have a very fit family. And, you know, and of course they're all telling me, you know, Mom, if you do what I tell you to do, you'll be fine. And, but also, you know, I know that, you know, different bodies are different. They're different. One of the things that's funny that you mentioned that I thought of was, the only extra I have is a coffee in the morning with sugar-free creamer. And I'm like, I wonder, do I need to cut that out? So, so that's funny that you mentioned that. But anyway, so the question I have for you, I can still have my coffee with creamer, so tell me something like throughout your life. So you said you grew up in Kansas City, you're in Canada now, you travel a lot. That's amazing. I love to travel too. So tell me one thing that you're like just really grateful for, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life or whatever, just something that pops up at the top of your head that as soon as I said it, you thought of.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I 1,000% am grateful for is I have a team of food coaches. So I have 5 other women who coach this program with me, and really just, you know, it took a lot for them to even be on board with me. Like, where I was a new business, there was no guarantee of like, you know, success, money, you know, like clients. And, you know, all of them really just were such a yes to the training, to participating, to, you know, letting their passion for people's wellness and their own stories become part of what I do. So that's 100% something that I'm really grateful for. I think the other thing that, I don't know if this fits, but it's interestingly something that came to mind is, you know, before I got into nutrition and even like into the last year or so, like since I was 12, I was a binge eater. Like very much like once a month. This obviously didn't start this way at 12, but once a month I'd like kick everybody out of my house and, you know, go to the grocery store and buy like $60 worth of just absolute crap. And just, you know, watch Netflix and eat it all. And that's something that I hid for a very long time. And it's something that I was very ashamed about, especially, you know, as I'm in nutrition school and, you know, going out and starting to talk to people about, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. All the while in the background, I'm like doing this once a month, eating like frozen pizza and chips and ice cream and whatever. But when you ask me what I'm grateful for, I actually am very grateful for that experience, because it's starting to talk about it, starting to deal with it, having some freedom around it very much informs why I do what I do. It informs my coaching. I think it's a way that I've been able to connect with people. And so even though it was something that I really was like, even when I'm talking about it, I remember how heavy it used to sit on me right here. So I'm grateful for the freedom that I have. I'm grateful for that experience and everything that it's given me. But yeah, those two things, my team and that experience, are definitely two things.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And, you know, it's like a lot of times people say that, you know, like I know a lot of other health coaches but like a couple that I'm thinking of, but I've known them all their life and they've always been thin and athletic. And they can still coach, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
100%.
but when you become relatable to people, you know, just like I mentioned earlier, the Cops Wives nonprofit I have, because I was married to a cop for 16 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so I can relate to that. I can relate to other women who need that support of, especially when they first marry a cop or whatever, that lifestyle, because it's a different lifestyle, you know, where like there was somebody that wrote a book about police. I won't say exactly the name, but about cops and families, and you know, but they just went to school for it, but they never had anybody even in their family in law enforcement. And it's like, you just can't relate as much, you know, to help people. So that's awesome. Thank you.
And you're both, sorry. I was just going to say, you're both talking about authenticity and integrity. Go ahead, Molly.
No, totally. And I think that what I was just going to add is, I do think that definitely contributes something to like my love for what I do, my love for my clients, because, you know, even like a couple of years ago, I was probably 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And I did a lot of work on myself to love that body also. I love this body and I loved that one too. And that relatability really is a gift. So I love what you just said there. Laurie, that was great.
Yeah, I love the interaction and what comes up. You know, I'd like to give the floor to you, Molly. I'd like to give you, if you're comfortable with it, right, turn the tables around, turn the show around, and ask Laurie and I any question that you'd like. Direct it to us. Let us know who you're asking, and if you want us to answer, you know, whatever you'd like. So that way we can learn a little bit more about how your mind works.
Okay. Well, I think that for I'll start with you, Rara, because I know you. Do you go by Rara on the show, or do you go by Catherine?
I go by Rara.
In life. Can you actually tell me where that name came from?
Oh, yes, of course. So it's is that your question?
Yeah, first one.
Awesome, first question. Okay, so you know, I keep a very private personal life, but it is the first, and it's a great story. It's the first words that our first grandson spoke.
Oh,
that's the short version without taking up too much time in the show. So, you know, we think about this, right? Laurie, I saw you posting this, like, what do you want to be called one day, when? And I knew I never wanted to be called grandma.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about it, like we were just coming up with different things, but you don't tell somebody what to call you, right? It just happens. And so obviously he was very young. And when those words came out of our grandson's mouth, it was like, okay, that's it. That's me. End of subject. You know, that was it. And that was when I was born. And I then bought raracards.com. And then, you know, that was the way I took some coaching and branding coaching to brand myself. And I was ending up at the end of that whole coaching session, I was coming up with something else entirely. Like I was going right down the road of, you know, a sorrow. And when my grandson said those words, like there was just no better fit. Like, you know, like you said, right? You know, when something is the right thing. So yeah, so that's it. I hope I answered your question. No,
that's great. And that's actually a good segue into my next question, which is for both of you. Is I'd love to hear what the most kind of, I don't know if serendipitous is the word, but it sounds like your meeting of one another was very serendipitous. I'd love to know the most kind of like memorable or serendipitous moment since you started the Gratitude Girl show for each of you.
Laurie, would you like to go first?
No, you can.
Okay. Okay, good. So, you know, for me, it obviously was when we met. Like, obviously, you're talking about other than that. You know, having that moment together with the feeling of unlimited possibility. It truly felt for me like, oh my gosh. I remember walking up on stage after we met. We went back up on stage, Laurie and I, to be recognized again and again. And it was a weekend of whirlwind recognition and celebration. And for me, that was the dream I had, was to be standing next to Cody Bateman. But the bigger dream, and that in itself is awesome. But you know, how many times can you stand next to someone, right? Like, the point is, the metaphor is, I want to stand there and is what I'm living. So it's the and that is serendipitous for me, because Laurie and I live that moment. We relive it every day. We relive it every show. We relive it every potential guest that we speak to. We relive it with every email. I relive that moment. It has a vibration that just goes above and beyond. So for me, the serendipity of it is not just the experience, but the fact that that brilliant, brilliant genius man did something that has a life of its own. Now that's really what I call awesome.
Can I just, something that I just got from what you said is there's very much, especially in the world of like female entrepreneurs and female like difference makers, there's like this way of going about like developing something that's kind of like, you know, of course you have your plan and like you take actions and things like that, but like you kind of give yourself over to something, to an experience, to a dream. And it does very much take on a life of its own. And in some ways it kind of, you don't even really know how you end up from one place to another. You know, I can't imagine that you two were standing on stage in 2013 thinking that you'd be here. But I really just got that. That's very much been my experience as an entrepreneur is, you know, everything that got me to here. A lot of those steps certainly weren't planned and certainly were not, you know, they were outside of my vision, right, of my view. And I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That you got it right. That's exactly how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Laurie, is it the same for you, or do you have another serendipitous moment?
Yes, same, but I'll add to it. So also just so many since then, since 2013, Catherine and I have had the opportunity to travel together in several countries and cities all over the world. Like I said, when I was up in Canada, up by you guys and speaking at an event several years ago, and then and just several other cities that Catherine and I have been able to travel together to and speak on stages together, as well as to other people. And the Gratitude Girls are writing their first book. And so we're hoping out this year. And so Catherine and I both have to put our coaching rear ends together and busy a little bit more, but yes, that is coming out. And then other, you know, speaking engagements and training things that she and I get to go to and travel to, and
amazing
to teach and, you know, and help people and pour into other people's lives the way that other people have poured into us and helped us to become who we are, you know, and then we just get to give that back to the world. And it's an amazing feeling, and it's an amazing roadmap and adventure that we've been on, and getting to do our photo shoots each time we see each other and get new stuff for our media and things. It just, it's serendipitous. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling.
And I just wanted to add one other thought, because I maybe it's something that crossed your mind. The meditation, the focus that I get to devote to this part of our life, I had never imagined that I would spend so much of my meditative time on the intention of Gratitude Girls, because I didn't know it was going to be part of my life. But I practice yoga every day, and I practice meditation every day. And I have the vision of, so what happens is my conscious mind and my subconscious mind are both working at our future selves.
I think out of both of what you both just shared, I just got so excited for the next 5 years of my life to see where I'm going to be, or I guess it may be almost 6 years, depending on when in 2013 you guys met. But I just got so excited to see where I'm going to be, because I'm clear just from your story, I actually have no clue.
Great. Ride the wave, right?
Oh yeah. I'm going to be riding them, baby.
Oh, we're so happy to be on this part of your journey with you, because I know that this starts something, right? We have a reason that we met, Thanks to Ashley. Thanks to Ashley Sweetman for doing that. You know, I really want to say that we have to make sure Ashley sees this show, right? Maybe she's watching, I don't know, but we'll let her know that it's thanks to her. And thanks to the fact that you're so open and that you are such a high energy person. And it feels to me like, you know, everybody should talk to you, Molly. Everybody should ask you, you know, the questions about their secret little secrets about, you know, what they eat and what they don't eat, and the ritual of do this and eat a grapefruit and don't eat a grapefruit, and eat nuts and don't eat too many nuts, and, you know, eat organic, and, you know, all the things that we tell ourselves. And, you know, so I want to share an addiction that I have on the show, because I think that's going to make it that much more interesting. I want to come clean. I'm addicted to rooibos tea.
Okay.
So organic red rooibos tea. It is my go-to 24/7. Like, there is in my home, I don't have one. I have 2 cups of rooibos tea, because one is in the fridge and one is either hot or on the counter. Like I double swing it, you know. So I just wanted to come clean with that in case anybody wants to know a little secret. That's it. I'm addicted to 2 cups of rooibos tea at all times.
I think that's the cleanest addiction anyone's ever sneaked out to. Mine's not that clean.
Okay, well, that's mine. So, yeah, I just thought that's
awesome.
I feel so much better now, Molly.
Although I will say that rooibos tea is actually one of the things that I recommend almost all the time for people who are trying to get off of caffeine in the morning, because it's got like a richness. Like, some teas can be quite flat. It's rich enough that people can get used to it when they're used to coffee. Yes, so.
I've been off caffeine, as a matter of fact, for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
During that 2 years, I did embark on some decaf, but I'm better off without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole world to teas. That can be you coming onto my show, and we'll talk about teas.
Okay.
For an hour.
Super. And do I have some stories? I won't get into that, but oh my God. And you mentioned adrenals earlier. I have to tell you about that. Yeah. So it was awesome. It was just, it's great to know that we're contributing to our own health, that we're making a conscious effort to do what we feel we need to do and to listen to our bodies. Molly Sanders, I don't want to look at the time, but I do look at the time, because
I understand.
Yeah, we certainly have a lot to learn from you. And if any one of our guests watching the show want to know how to get in touch with you, aside from looking at all the links that we post, can you tell us a little bit about how can they get you and follow you and catch your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the links are on there, but I'm definitely most active on Facebook and Instagram, and, you know, messaging me on either of those platforms. I'm very fast to get in touch. And if there, you know, something that you'd rather speak to me privately about, like direct messaging my personal page rather than my business page is not a problem. You can find me at Molly Sanders. Okay, awesome. Well, yeah. Molly Sanders from Kansas City. I'm actually from Wichita, but Kansas. Okay, Kansas. Sorry, from Kansas. Okay. I definitely am glad that you came all this way and that you walked into that BNI meeting and that we got to meet, because I think of you, and I think of you often, and I sometimes say, oh my gosh, where's Molly and what is she doing? So Henry and I talk about you as well, like, where is Molly? So come and give us a visit. Let's set something up. Henry's in Hawaii at this moment, but we'll either do a lunch, or if you want to come back to another meeting at BNI and see us, or whatever you want to do, let's get together and let's just hang out. Okay. I'm into it. And Laurie, when I'm in Nashville, you better believe it. I'll be coming to see you. Well, you know, Laurie, that just gives us another reason to perhaps do something in Nashville and invite Molly to it. Yes, please. Yes. Okay, we will. Laurie's got lots going on there. Lots. Laurie, if somebody's watching the show tonight and they want to be like Molly, or they want to be Molly, or they want to talk to Molly, they want to be on our show and talk to us, how do they do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are live on the air the 4th Tuesday night of every single month, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific. And if you missed the show live, you can always find us at gratitudegirls.com always go there, hit refresh on that day's event to see the live show, or you can do a search on our site to find who you're looking for or the topics that we talked about.
That's right. Awesome. And if you're thinking about wanting to be on our show, get in touch with us. I think we're booking June or July or something right now, right, Laurie? So yeah, get in touch with us. Let us know what your ideas are and your intentions and how you'd like to be featured. And if you truly have a gratitude story, let us know. Molly, before we say goodnight to our audience, is there anyone that you want to say anything to that you're grateful for?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, again, want to say thank you to my team. Jennifer, Amber, Beatrice, Veronica, Terry, and then Carly and Jillian, who are completing with Get Real to Heal right now, and everybody who really contributed to the last couple of months. Oh, Mitch, my videographer. Oh my gosh, definitely Mitch. Very grateful for Mitch.
Well, we are grateful for you, for your team, and we're grateful for Mitch too, so that we can see you. And we will be looking for you and following you on Instagram and social media. Thank you so much for being on our show. Laurie, to you, to our audience, thank you so much. Molly, hang out with us. And yeah, don't go anywhere. So thank you so much, Laurie. Looking forward to our next show.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.